Now, recently, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other congresswomen traveled to some of these border facilities that are holding migrants. Now, what they found was absolutely horrific. And there was also a ProPublica story on that. Now, what they found, of course, is that there were lots of people that were crammed into very small areas. Some women were told to drink from toilets. There were a lot of people that didn't have access to showers. You also have the conditions that are ripe for disease, and you've had people that have died from the flu. These conditions are terrible. They're squalid, and the Border Patrol agents, they knew that Congress was that some Congress people were going to come look at those facilities, and they were so horrific even after they had cleaned up. So now this is terrible, right? So now Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like I said, she visited, and while she was there, first she had to give up her phone. She was surrounded by men with guns, of course, and those people had been very racist and sexist towards her, and some of the other congresswomen. In fact, according to ProPublica, a Facebook group of about 9,500 Border Patrol agents in the lead up to this visit had said some very horrible racist stuff against these congresswomen, specifically AOC. Some joked about the deaths of migrants in their care. Others discussed throwing burritos at Latinx members of Congress. I mean, it's good. It's terrible, right? One member also posted a derogatory illustration of AOC that depicted her engaging in sexual acts. You had one, of course, that had Donald Trump forcing her head into his lap. And so just all sorts of horrifyingly gross things, right? So now after she did this, White House Counselor Kellyanne Conway attacked her on Twitter after she called that out. Kellyanne tweeted this: "How many migrant women did AOC help by voting against the $4.6 billion bipartisan humanitarian aid that is for them? She even voted against the Democrat aid package. All talk, no dollars." So, okay. So immediately, it's kind of funny, right? How Republicans, they say they're, against throwing money at things, except when it comes to, of course, the military or a ridiculous border wall. But they wanted to throw money at this, which is kind of interesting. You also had establishment corporate Democrats also just wanting to throw money at this. And that's where the disagreement came apart in Congress. Now, I explained this when the bill had gone through, but let me just do a quick little recap, right? So now, when they tried to pass this border package, there were no provisions in it on how they were to spend the money, the Trump administration. No protections for people in these camps, in these conditions. And so there was no accountability. Nancy Pelosi said, I don't care. We're just going to throw money at them, right? Especially since if I don't do that, then I can't get the other moderate centrist Democrats in favor of it. They just wanted to throw money to say, hey, look, we did something, but also to not appear too soft towards migrants. It's a strange position that they decided to take, but now AOC had responded to this, charged by saying, how many migrant women has Kellyanne sat on a concrete floor with? Actually listened to? The answer is none. Her actions show that she doesn't believe all humans are worthy of basic dignity. That's why she defends and muddies the clear and indefensible. Now, did AOC not vote for that package? As I said, she did not. Progressives, all good progressives, opposed that. Why? Because, as I said, there were no restrictions placed on the money to ensure that it didn't get spent on enhancing border security, right? Now, AOC, of course, again, pointed that out. She said this: the $4.6 billion wasn't humanitarian at all, had no accountability measures for facilities that abuse children and families. It didn't fix the problem, just funded abuse. I don't believe in billion-dollar blank checks for unethical, abusive administrations, including yours. Damn. Then she said this: are Customs and Border Patrol officers waking up women in the middle of the sleep a funding problem, is calling migrants filthy whores a funding problem. That's actually what was reported that they had said. Is threatening violence on members of Congress a funding problem? Again, that was something that was revealed in that report. That those Facebook groups, of course, did talk about violence. And she added, no, it's not. It's a far deeper, systemic, more violent problem than that. Yes. Now, look, the reason is, of course, look at the culture, right? Look at the people who are attracted to that job. And I'm not saying every single Border Patrol agent is a racist, right? But you got to remember, that Facebook group, 9,500 people, current and former Border Patrol agents, right, that are right-wing. And that's generally who gets attracted to that job, right? Nobody in that Facebook group objected to any of those messages, the horrible stuff that was said in that group. There's only 20,000 border agents in this country. A large majority of them are pretty racist. Maybe they're low-key racist, and some are, of course, massively racist. But you can't say that a majority of those Border Patrol agents aren't attracted to that job because of that racism, because they get to abuse minors, minorities. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, and that's what they're doing. Or at best, many are completely indifferent. And that group might also contain friends and family, but at the very least, thanks to that ProPublica report, we know that a lot of them are incredibly racist, and they are treating these migrants as criminals. And see, there's a problem with that because they're not actually criminals. Applying for asylum is not illegal. It's lawful. How we're treating them is unlawful. We are breaking the laws here. But of course, the Trump administration, they don't care. They passed the zero tolerance law. So, look, Kellyanne Conway can blame AOC as much as she wants, right? But in reality, this is a problem created by Donald Trump, right? Yes, there's migration. There's an uptick in migration, of course. And we've seen that, right? The problem is that the Trump administration took a situation that was not great, and he made it that much worse by saying, okay, look, we don't care that you're trying to apply for asylum, which you have to be in the United States. We don't care that 80% of asylum seekers come back to court to learn if they're going to, and to make their case to see if they can stay in the country legally. They don't care at all about that. They said, look, we're just going to throw you in prison just because we can, or in prison-like conditions, I should say. And you know why? It's because the cruelty is the point. The whole point is to be terrible to these people so that so it will deter more people from coming in. Hey, we're going to treat you like garbage. Some of you are going to die, but it's going to prevent more of you from coming into the country. Well, how's that worked out? Well, it hasn't. We continue to get more and more migrants from places like El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Which, by the way, you have taken aid, the Trump administration has taken aid from those countries, which has made the economic situation even worse. So everything you're doing is making the situation that much worse. You're arresting families, prospective families, that have been willing to take these people in until they get their asylum claim checked out. You're arresting those families because most likely they're undocumented too. And so they're not going to families. You're filling up these camps, and the conditions have deteriorated. It's a man-made issue. Now, AOC had one last jab here for Kellyanne, and I love it. She said, quote, also, Kellyanne, maybe you should actually do your job next time and show up to a congressional hearing if you want to talk to me. After all, you ran away and skipped out on Oversight Committee last week just to call into Fox and Friends instead. Well, of course. Well, you know what that hearing was about, by the way? That was about Kellyanne Conway's constant violation of the Hatch Act. You want to live in, or you want to throw stones while living in a house made of turds? Well, then, if that's true, you've got way more problems than throwing stones. But look, the overall point is, if you start to come for AOC, you're going to get served. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.